March 15th, Sunday. It's noon in the Ukrainian capital. This is the news, the program Our Time. I'm Sakin Amirzaev, and I'll bring you the top stories of the hour. The Russian army is cynically attacking the civilian population. This morning, a Russian FPV drone struck an ambulance. 2 medical workers were killed, and another was injured. This was reported by the Kharkiv Regional Military Administration. Details of the shelling are not yet known. Russian occupiers continue their attacks on Ukraine's railways. Yesterday, the RF army struck a commuter train in the Sumy region. This was reported by the State Emergency Service. As a result of the shelling, the driver's cab caught fire. The fire also spread to the surrounding open area. Rescuers extinguished the fire, notwithstanding the danger of a second strike. Fortunately, no one was injured. At the same time, 4 people in the region were injured by Russian shelling. In total, the invading army attacked the Sumy region 80 times over the past day. The Russian military forces also launched strikes against critical social infrastructure and various residential neighborhoods in the Kherson region. As a result of the attacks, 1 person died and 17 others were injured, including 3 children. This is reported by the Regional Military Administration. 6 apartment buildings and 21 private houses were damaged. 2 more civilians were injured in the Dnipropetrovsk region. There, the occupying forces struck 3 districts more than 10 times. An infrastructure facility and private houses were damaged. Last night, Russian occupiers launched a total of 97 different drones at Ukraine, 70 of which were Shahed type, and air defense forces neutralized 70 targets. Just during this past week, Russian forces have deployed over 1,700 drones, more than 1,500 guided aerial bombs, and 86 missiles, including over 20 ballistic ones, to carry out strikes across Ukraine. This was reported by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. He emphasized that every single one of these missiles contains at least 60 foreign components, which continue to be supplied to Russia by bypassing international sanctions. Iran is ready to sign a ceasefire agreement, but the United States considers Tehran's terms not good enough. This was stated by United States President Donald Trump in a phone interview with NBC News. The President of the United States did not name acceptable terms for Washington, but emphasized the fact that Iran's commitment to abandon all nuclear ambitions would be a necessary part of them. Ukraine is not at war with Iran, but is only sharing its personal experience encountering Shahed drones. This was stated by Volodymyr Zelensky during a meeting with journalists. The president emphasized that teams of Ukrainian military specialists traveled to the Middle East solely in an expert capacity.
3 teams that headed to the Middle East are capable of providing expertise and demonstrating how it should work. This is not about being present in operations. We are not at war with Iran. This is about defense and clear, comprehensive expertise from our side on how to fight the Shahads. Volodymyr Zelensky, president of Ukraine, while speaking with journalists.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister of Belgium called on the European Union to sit down at the negotiating table with Russia to achieve peace in Ukraine. Bart de Wever believes that Europe cannot influence the Russian dictator, so the European Union must participate in the negotiations. He also added that forcing Russia to surrender is only possible with 100% support from the United States of America. At the same time, the European Union extended sanctions against Russia for another 6 months. As stated by the European Commission, these are personal sanctions for Russia's aggression against Ukraine. Approximately 2,600 citizens and companies from Russia were included in the individual lists. They face travel restrictions, and their assets are being frozen. The EU emphasized that it will continue its comprehensive support for Ukraine, economic, humanitarian, military, and diplomatic.
The European Union reaffirms its unwavering and steadfast support for the independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity of Ukraine within its internationally recognized borders. The EU remains determined to maintain and increase pressure on Russia to end its brutal war of aggression and to engage in meaningful negotiations to establish peace. From the statement of the European Council.
Ukrainian defense forces struck Russian army equipment in temporarily occupied Crimea. The Protivnik and Parol radar stations were disabled, as well as the launcher of the S-400 Triumph anti-aircraft missile system. This was reported by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. The extent of the damage is being clarified. At the same time, Russian artillerymen in Severodonetsk, Luhansk region were temporarily left without communication. This was reported by the Atesh partisan movement. According to their information, a fire broke out at the transformer of the Russian artillery headquarters. As a direct result, this specific unit of the Russian army temporarily lost its ability to effectively coordinate actions, receive and transmit critical orders, and conduct the operational management of its personnel. The power supply situation in Odessa and the region continues to be the most difficult in Ukraine. Since the beginning of 2025, Russian strikes have destroyed 34 large distribution substations. This is approximately 45% of the total number. Amid constant blackouts, residential buildings are switching to alternative energy sources, and funding for equipment can be obtained through government programs. How Odessa is becoming energy independent. In our report,
this high-rise in one of Odessa's residential areas practically has its own mini power plant. Solar panels and equipment are installed on the roof, providing autonomy not just during blackouts.
Right now, the building is running on its own generation. Currently, the house is on its own generation from its own station. In this building, 4 elevators and an individual heating station, water pumps, lighting, intercoms, and fire alarms are powered. Basically, all common areas.
This system saves on utilities because you don't have to pay for light in common areas. The solar panels provide it. Plus, the system operates independently and doesn't require constant maintenance.
Everything works by itself, autonomously. Everything works autonomously. This station requires no maintenance. It powers itself. If there's no power at night, it switches the batteries. If the sun is out during the day, it powers the house from the sun. A solar station was installed on this building. The inverter capacity is 30 kilowatts, battery capacity is 60 kilowatts, and the solar field capacity is 24 kilowatts.
This building was commissioned after the start of the full-scale Russian invasion, and like many new builds, everything here depends on electricity.
The systems are designed this way. The building systems are set up so that without electricity, there's no heat or water. So if there's a blackout, there's absolutely nothing in the apartment, not just no lights.
In October 2024, panels and other equipment were installed here to make outages easier to handle. And this system was very useful this winter when Russia ramped up attacks on energy infrastructure.
Our district seems to have suffered the most. Our district probably suffered the most from shelling, so we had long power outages. When our power was out for 12 to 15 hours, we handled the blackouts calmly. We had enough power from our batteries. Also, our HOA office is powered, where people could come as a point of invincibility.
Equipment that helps endure long power outages was installed as part of support from the State Energy Efficiency Fund. This building became one of the pioneers in Ukraine for installing alternative energy sources. And in this building, they've just started installing solar panels. The high-rise is twice as large, so the station's capacity is higher. Here, too, funding was obtained thanks to government programs.
The fund increased the compensation. This time, the fund increased compensation specifically for such large buildings. So 2 stations are being set up here, 2 fields at 30 kilowatts each. This generation will be enough for all our systems. Also, this building's a bit older, and we have 4 elevators with frequency converters, while 4 need modernization. But we'll get to all that in time.
Due to constant Russian attacks on the energy grid, more and more homes in Odessa are becoming self-sufficient. According to the latest data, 15 solar power stations have been installed on high-rises in the city. Ksenia Satinskaya, Zarab Tedaluri from Odessa for the Freedom TV channel.